It's the second season of the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. Jen and Angela are two moms raised on Disney magic, figuring out parenthood one day, one milestone, and sometimes one meltdown at a time. Thanks for listening and enjoy this week's new episode.
Welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. I'm Angela Dahlgren, here with my co-host, Jen Snyder.
Hello.
And this is our season 2 opener.
Yay, I'm so excited.
I mean, we finished a season 1. We actually have a season 2. This is amazing. we're like past the pilot.
I know.
This is a big deal. I know.
Not bad for starting something during a pandemic, you know?
Right. I know. We're kind of making it, aren't we?
Yes.
To start off season 2, we have a musician, family entertainer, Tunes with Tim. Tim, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Angela and Jen. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for starting off our season.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
We had to go big, you know. We weren't going to,
Well,
it couldn't just be me and Angela. I mean,
we wouldn't have it any other way.
And we had to start off with another Midwesterner. I'm in Minnesota. My family is from Chicago area, Tim. So I'm very pleased to have another Midwesterner on the show.
I was curious about that. What about you, Jen? Where are you at?
I'm in New York. I'm on Long Island.
Cool.
Long Island.
Well, right then. Fabulous. Coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
Want
some coffee. We'll go to the mall. Walk the dog. You know.
we
comes back too easy.
I know. Jen actually, we've mentioned this on the show before, Tim, but Jen actually worked at Walt Disney World. And while she was there, she lost the accent.
Yeah.
So it used to be much thicker. There's a home video of little Jen with her Long Island accent, and now it's gone. But it does come out sometimes when she's getting really excited about something.
It's weird how that works, right? I'm watching a lot of Fargo right now on whatever it's on, whatever service it's on. But I just can't help it. Like my wife and I just keep talking like, oh, way up there. Oh, yeah. Fargo.
Yeah. Up north in Minnesota.
That's right. Angela knows all about that.
Don't get me started. I know the entire episode. Tim, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Tim Brederick from Tunes with Tim. I have been doing kids music for almost 8 years now. You know, I've been a musician most of my life. Grew up in a musical household. Had a mom that was privy to the benefits of a musical education with early childhood development. So I benefited from that and have just been kind of obsessed with music for as long as I can remember, for better or for worse. I am 38 years old. I live in Chicago. I'm married to my wife, Katie, who's from Madison, Wisconsin, who is a nurse. And we have a 4-month-old son named Quinn, which has been taking up a lot of our time lately, and it's been pretty awesome.
How do you like being a parent? Do you like him yet?
Oh yeah. You know, it's weird. Like the COVID thing is a silver lining, you know, because or this is a silver lining with the COVID thing because you know there's not much FOMO. You know,
right?
You know, usually you're like, oh, I got a kid now, I can't go out and see that band, or I can't go, catch up with my buddies who are all out and about. Although most of my buddies have kids themselves now, so it's not an issue.
Everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's a good time to dive in and really just kind of get into this new gear of parenthood, you know.
Oh yeah.
And how many children do you guys have?
We both have 2 kids around the same age, actually. My daughter just turned 7, and then my son is going to be 5 in January.
Congrats. All right.
And I have a 6-year-old son and a daughter who will be 4 in January on the same birthday as Angela's son, just a year apart.
Yeah.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
My wife's best friend, or one of her best friends, had their first child 4 days after us, and we actually ran into them in the hospitals. We were checking out, and they were checking in.
Oh, that's wild.
It's like, hey, this is going to be you in a few days.
It's always funny talking to new parents because in my experience, it seems like mom kind of takes up a lot of baby's time. It's just kind of how it works when there's a newborn. And it seems like dad's like, you kind of get like, a baby's kind of boring when they're a newborn, honestly. Like they sleep a lot. You got to feed them. They don't really open their eyes. But at that 4-month mark is when they start doing more things. Rolling over, the smiling, the laughing, they start getting a lot more exciting. So have you noticed that with your son?
Yeah, definitely. You're right. Like they're kind of like, blobs that don't express much when they're super young. And, I feel as though Quinn is his name. I feel like he came out kind of running, if you will. Like, just like he was, my wife was 41 and 3, which I think most of the people listening would understand what that means. And I feel as though like he just kind of came out just like, well done out of the oven, if you will, and ready to go. And he just kind of,
she was ready for him to go.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, for sure. And now he is just, more engaging, obviously, and you get more of a reaction and whatnot, which is nice. But it kind of worked out for us because my wife's a nurse, and me being a kids musician, COVID has kind of messed that up. So if one of us has to stay at home and be the nanny, since we both can't work full time, and I don't even know if we would under normal, who knows? But like, it's worked out well where it's just like, oh, well, it's cold here in Chicago, and I can't really do much stuff. I was relying over the summer on a lot of outdoor, socially distant events for to keep the business going. And now it's like, well, now I can just kind of take a step back and get this new album out and do some virtual stuff for part time, and then be with Quinn for most of the time, which has been kind of a blessing. So, try to stay on the positive side of things.
Yeah, you can get into like a little bubble that you probably wouldn't have had if not for COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been fun to watch them, hit those milestones and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
And they smell so good at that age.
Oh my gosh, they smell so good.
Although Quinn's due for a bath today, so he's a little funky.
So it's like that milk neck.
Yeah.
You're like, you try to wipe it up, but it's still there. I get it.
No, for sure. Like it gets in the creases. You gotta and like for some reason they don't want to like move up their neck to wipe it. They're just like
you have to like get the washcloth and kind of like tuck it under there and wipe during bath time.
Yeah, they're not loving it.
I laughed so hard. It was maybe it was your latest Instagram post when you're like kind of like running an idea by him, but it was a common song. Maybe it was a Christmas song, and he's there. I think it was in like this red flannel jammies. And it was so cute, and he sings up really well.
Oh, he's super strong. He's got that head strength. You don't have to worry about being so careful with the head now because you pick him up and he's like engaged and yeah, like he loves to stand almost on his own. You can hold him by his hands or like balance his rib cage, and he kind of wobbles back and forth and he stands up. Like he might walk before he crawls.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But yeah, that was Jingle Bell Rock, and
that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm rehearsing some holiday tunes for the. I do virtual music classes every Friday, in collaboration with longtime partner Monica and Andy, which is like a baby boutique for fashionable. Or comfy organic clothes. But yeah, great company. It's been great to be. I've been with them for since they started their first brick and mortar guide shop in 2014. So it's been a great partnership and been a lot of fun to do events with them and whatnot.
That's awesome.
I was going to ask you more about that. I know that you do virtual Zoom classes. Was this something that you were doing live before the pandemic?
Yes. Yeah. So I was doing like 16 classes a week.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
12 of them at Monica and Andy in their Lincoln Park guide shop. And that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4-day. And then Tuesday mornings at Mr. Dave Music in Wicker Park, which is run by a friend of mine, Dave Hamilton, also known as Mr. Dave, who is actually largely responsible for my career, if you will, in kids music. So he got me into it, and I am forever grateful because it's very liberating to be able to make music, make a living, and be your own boss.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask more about that because you mentioned that your mom had been in child development. You were into music. So at what point did you realize like, maybe I'm married to these two ideas and make a career out of it?
Right.
It started when I went into my nephew's preschool for Letter U Day.
Okay.
So I was Uncle Tim that
Nice.
came in, and he wanted Uncle Tim to come in and play music with all the instruments that he plays. So I brought in a few different instruments and did like kind of like a show and tell on like, here's what this sounds like and here's what this sounds like, and started doing some songs. And then the director of the preschool was observing. She kind of pulled me aside afterwards. She's just like, so what do you do for a living? I was like, oh, well, I wait tables and I play in a bunch of bands, trying to figure out how to make music or how to make money with music. And she's just like, I don't know if you understand how difficult it is to do what you just did and keep these kids, these preschoolers' attention for 45 minutes. And I was just like, oh, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, you should consider doing more of this. And then like literally on my way home, I see a billboard that says like, this is the sign you've been waiting for.
What?
Right? How weird is that?
Yeah.
And then after that, I had like I just met Dave Hamilton, and as we became closer friends, I learned that he did kids music for his day job, in addition to playing in adult bands, if you will. And he was just like, hey man, I got plenty of business. You want me to show you how to do this? And I'll just give you my overflow, the stuff I'm not available for.
Wow.
And I'm like, sounds great. And
Wow.
one thing led to another, and then I'm quitting my serving job and only playing one adult band now instead of three.
That's awesome. It's like all the stars aligned though at one time.
So that was I actually, you know how Facebook tells you like 8 years ago today, or whatever. My sister, I'm not on as much of the social media these days personally, for personal reasons, but I'm on there for Tunes with Tim a lot. And I got a text from my sister. She's just like, oh my gosh, this is when it all started 8 years ago. And it was like one of those posts that came up on her feed. And I was just like, crazy.
That's so cool.
Wow. Yeah. And now you are getting ready to release your second album.
Yes, super excited.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, for sure. With pleasure. I put out my first album in 2016, so it was a long time ago. And I did that one out of my spare bedroom in our old apartment. And I did that one all by myself because I was just like, well, you got the technology these days. I've never done that sort of thing. I'm just going to try it. And, it came out pretty okay. But I knew I wanted to kind of step it up for the next one and just and hire some professionals. So that's what I did. I hired a couple producers that one of them Grammy nominated, the other Grammy winning.
Nice.
Which is always nice. Jamie Candeloro is the producer, engineer, and mixer on the album. And Scott Hall is the mastering engineer on the album. Jamie Candeloro has worked with like the Eagles and Willie Nelson and REM. And awesome. Scott Hall's worked with Dave Matthews, John Mayer, Sting, like just some super heavy hitters, and if you pay these guys enough, they'll work with you, even if you're not one of those. And, I knew I wanted to put something out, and I had some song ideas, but it really kind of came together when some of my family members came to me and says that like, oh, I've been like coming up with random songs for my sister and her kids, or for my aunt and her grandchildren. So it was definitely more of a family effort or family inspiration, if you will, from new members of family, both, immediate and extended. Mm-hmm. And they were very inspirational and helpful in giving me some of these ideas that I kind of took and ran with and made into a full song. So it's 11 songs, it's all original, and it's very eclectic in musical style. Everything from, like your traditional pop to rock, like grunge rock, to hip hop, to a little jazzy notes, some world music notes. So I like a lot of varieties of music. So I tried to incorporate that with my kids' music, which is great because kids' music you can do that with more so than you can maybe like a regular adult band, which usually it's like you're a funk band, or you're a soul band, or you're a rock band, and I like it all, so it's fun that way.
And this album debuts January 15th. And it will be available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Bandcamp, and other digital outlets for $9.99.
Well, for the ones that I think iTunes is the only one. The ones where you pay for albums to download is $9.99. But if you're Spotify user, you subscribe, right? So it's included.
Right.
Valid. Yeah. But yeah, you can even listen to that stuff for free if you want the ads and stuff. So yeah, it'll be out on all the digital streaming and download platforms. I didn't even print physical copies. You can't even give away CDs these days.
Yeah, I know. What's the point? Just save the money. But you are doing something extra special to celebrate the album debut.
Yes. So it comes out January 15th. And then on the 16th, I'm going to be doing a album release live stream virtual event with a couple buddies of mine who also play in my adult band, Fletcher Rockwell, and they're going to help me bring these sounds to life for a special release concert. We're going to play the whole album plus a couple favorites from the first album, and we're actually going to try to pull off a Stevie Wonder cover as well. So
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. That'll be so cool. And I love that you had so much family inspiration for this album, because I feel like that would make all the difference in the world. It's a little more personal. It's based on experience. You were able to get some true feedback to see, they will be honest with you if you're playing for kids. So
that's very true. For better or for worse. Yeah,
exactly.
And I guess I'd be remiss to mention that concert, the virtual live stream, is 11 a.m. Central Time, January 16th, and you can find out information on that tuneswithtim.com.
Okay.
Sorry to go back.
No, you're fine.
That's okay. I read something, and you're going to have to kind of clarify, because I barely remember it now that I'm on the spot, but something like you would hear your sister kind of making up random songs on the fly to keep her kids entertained, or while she was doing something, she'd just kind of be making songs on the top of her head. And that was kind of inspirations for different songs.
Yeah, so you know how it is when you're trying to get kids to do stuff. You find yourself saying weird things and doing things you wouldn't normally think to do in the moment just to make it happen, right? So for instance, with her, it was she had a hard time with bath time and with her kids, and she also had a hard time getting them to get organized, to get out the door, get your shoes, get your jackets, get your bags, let's go, and you're shaking your head yes, you totally know, right? So when I was brainstorming ideas for an album concept, she's like, wouldn't it be cool if you did an album that's basically like a day in the life of a kid, where you go through the day and you sing songs about all these things getting out the door, or taking a bath, or nap time, or going to the store, getting in the car, whatever it was. So I was like, that sounds super cool. So I started kind of to roll with that, and then I realized that there wasn't really for a whole album. It kind of was, I needed a little bit a different angle. So then I found out that my aunt, Aunt Jenny, she had already kind of come up with some song ideas for her grandchildren that she was already singing to them. Things about practicing good manners, and when the baby's sleeping, we're quiet, don't wake them up, that sort of thing. And so and they were shells of songs, just ideas, some melodies, some words, not full songs really. And I just kind of took those and ran with them. And the combination of those two sources of inspiration, my sister Kate and my Aunt Jenny, ultimately is what got everything moving forward. And then I did a few of them on my own. So 6 songs with family members and 5 songs on my own that I wrote. And it wasn't until I actually started writing songs with them that I was able to kind of find stuff within me. So, it's weird, it's like, once you start getting in that environment and that state of mind, things start to flow a little bit more easily. So, so without them, I don't think that even the songs I wrote on my own would probably have come to light in the way that they did. So that's definitely exciting and makes it a little bit more extra special.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Inspiration definitely comes from everywhere. Yeah. And where did the inspiration for the album title come from? It's We're All Human.
I mean, that is definitely in response to all the craziness that's been happening for the last several years with all of the racism and the hatred bubbling up to the surface from the current events as of late. And that was one song that just poured out of me. I wasn't expecting to write a song. I was just feeling really depressed about everything that was going on, and just kind of feeling overwhelmed by it all. I was just like, this is crazy. It just doesn't make sense to me how people have all this hate and I guess to each their own or whatnot. But I just wanted to combat that with something positive and something like, hey, it doesn't matter what we look like, what we sound like. We're all human. We all feel the same inside. And that's pretty much the idea behind that song. I felt so strongly about that. I wanted to name the album after it, just because I'm sure everyone can relate on both sides of the coin. They're probably just upset with stuff, and it's just like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, we're all human. We all feel the same, and that's it's kind of cliche, but it just was overwhelming to me, and it just kind of poured out of me, which was cool because it made it easy to write.
And I think kids can relate to that because I feel like that's their true nature anyway. They kind of just come into the world and they just are like, what do you mean? What's different? Everyone's the same. And these are all my friends. And, not until you're going through life do you start to see some things that I wish that they won't ever have to see, or know about or anything like that.
Right.
No, you're right on. It has to be like these ideas of certain people being more valuable or better than other people are definitely instilled upon others, to that younger generation. You have people from the older generation saying these things to their younger generations, and that's how these things kind of, I think, continue to survive. And so I was like, well, if I could do one thing, I could write a song and maybe teach people that that's not the case. So that, that was what was the driving force behind that. And I finally took a break and stopped listening to news and stuff like that. I used to just listen to it all the time, all the news podcasts, and I just can't do it anymore. So now I'm listening to music podcasts. I'm much happier.
Nice.
Well, speaking of music, what is your musical background? I think, do you have a music degree?
I do. I have a piano performance major and a business administrative minor from Valparaiso University, which collectively is called Music Enterprises. But it was, I graduated in 2005, and the iPod came out in 2002, I think, or whatever. So I was I started a music business degree right when the music business got flipped upside down on its head. So, wasn't the best timing, but I still got to learn a lot. And it was a great education, small school, 4,500 undergrad. So I had classes with 10 people in it, but then I had some classes with 100 people in it, some gen ed stuff. But but it was nice to be able to get that. I mean, these classes were smaller than my high school, so it's bittersweet, the social vibe at the school wasn't what you might hope for in a college experience, but, I still found ways to have fun and learn some things along the way.
But also by going to school, around the time when Apple and iTunes and all that stuff was happening means that you have evolved with the times as far as music.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as a musician, I feel like you're constantly evolving, especially now with COVID and whatnot. And everyone has to pivot a lot now, not just musicians, but musicians especially. And it's been cool to see what's come out of it. You guys started this podcast. Yeah. I had a child, so.
But you did something positive too.
Yeah. But that would have happened either way. But so many people have done so many other cool things, and they've made time for, or time has been allowed, or they've been allowed to pursue things they wouldn't have had time for otherwise. So it's, you just got to keep that positive perspective, because otherwise you can get swamped in. But yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the madness. I know you do some virtual classes, which you were doing in person before. have there been other changes to your day-to-day aside from the virtual classes because of COVID?
This was literally my question. She phrased it exactly the way I was going to.
Over the summer, I started to do these private outdoor socially distant music classes, like whether it was in like someone's backyard or on a community space that was like outdoors, at a townhome complex or something like that, or even a public park. And so that was one thing that was different than usual. I had to come up with ways where, the virtual classes at first, when things shut down in March and April, they hit a boom, and then people were just zoomed out, right? Because people were working on Zoom and socializing on Zoom and learning on Zoom. And now and come summer, it was just I got an email from my mom. She's like, would you do an outdoor class, socially distanced? And I was just like, sure, yeah. And that's a great idea, actually. Let's do more of those.
Yeah.
So I had 20 groups going every week for a few months.
Yeah.
And then that slowed down with the cold, and coincidentally, my son was born, and I had to get this album out, so it's all kind of worked out pretty well, relatively speaking. But yeah, other than those outdoor summer classes, and me being much less active than I would be otherwise, that's pretty much the only change for me. But it would be interesting if I didn't have my son, how it'd be interesting to see how things would be going for me right now. Yeah. I don't think they'd be going quite as well. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I'm just happy that I get to be able to. I'm fortunate enough to be able to stay at home with him during these crucial moments of development, and everyone always says you got to hold on to the baby days because they don't, they go so fast. So doing my best to stay present with that and focus more on that, even though I have some business to attend to.
Yeah. Few things here and there.
Yeah.
How do you keep your energy level up, not only teaching, virtual class after virtual class, but also being tired with a newborn?
Well, I think we're pretty fortunate. Quinn sleeps very well, relatively speaking, from what I understand. And also my wife has been a total champion because she's a lighter sleeper than I am in general. And so she's used to waking up throughout the night anyways, quite frequently. So it wasn't much of an adjustment for her, other than she'd have to be up a little bit longer. So during those first few months, he was born in August, and I was doing all these summer outdoor classes. I was very busy, and my wife and I knew that this is my time to make as much money as I could before the weather got worse and I wouldn't be able to do this. And so I decided, we kind of came up with a system. She was just like, all right, well, she was on maternity leave, so she would do a lot of the heavy lifting then, so I could sleep and work and make money. And then now that I'm working less, I've stepped up, and if something needs to get done in the middle of the night, I'm on call, and my cooking game has vastly improved. I'm very sharp in the kitchen, and trying to keep up with the daily chores around the house. So the stay-at-home dad life is fits me well, actually.
Sounds like it's going okay.
Yeah. So I, we're getting sleep. He sleeps through the night. We do a dream feed at he goes down at 7:30ish, and we do a dream feed around 11:30ish.
Yeah.
And then he sleeps till 7 a.m. And then my wife gets up, goes to work. I wake up, and I'm with him all day for most of the week. Other than Friday mornings when I do my virtual Tunes with Tim classes, which I then have either my dad come or my mother-in-law come to be with them. So, and they're good about, being diligent with quarantining and keeping their exposure down. Plus, we have them wear masks when they're here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you do what you can, but at the end of the day, you have a newborn and they want to see their grandchild. Too.
Yeah.
It's true. There's been a lot of FaceTiming and Zooming for that as well, because not everyone's able to be as quarantined and to limit their exposures because of daily life. I know my oldest sister has 3 kids, and the oldest of her kids is 16. And it's just so they're worried about like mental health and depression, and, even suicide, like, I mean, it's not like, they're trying to get out ahead of that, so the way they're treating COVID is totally different than the way my wife and I are treating COVID with a newborn, because and everyone's understanding about that, but it does stink because now we can't be as, we just can't be around each other as much as we would like, but I'm sure everyone has something like that.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. I cannot not bring this up. Your cover of Dear Theodosia.
We're big Hamilton fans, so.
Yes. We're all
Well, Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? I mean,
he's,
great songwriter. That was a request from one of my regulars that came to my Tiny Tunes with Tim class, which is the one for the pre-walkers. So it's a bit of a different format. Yeah. I say class, but they're almost like mini performances, but they're classes because they're like mommy and me classes, like baby yoga and baby dance or whatever. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, oh, what a great song. And then it even means more to me now after having a son, and it's a great song. So I was happy to put that one up on my YouTube channel. I got to put more stuff up there. I used to do a video every week, and I've got like over 30 of them up there now, but I thought I'd be able to do more during COVID, but
Then you had a baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
Have a baby and an album. I don't know what you've been doing. Just put out videos.
Work harder, Tim.
But thank you for I'm glad you enjoyed that song, but it's not hard to make a good song sound good, so you got to give credit there for that. Also, not a lot of people know this, but Lin-Manuel Miranda also did a lot of the stuff in the Moana soundtrack, which is very popular these days. And one of the ones I do that gets requested a lot is You're Welcome, which is a great song. So, again, great songwriter, great song.
All right, fine, Lynn. We'll give you some props. I mean, I guess.
And he's doing the Little Mermaid album for the remake.
Yes, and he's doing something else. There's a new animated film coming out too.
Encanto. Encanto. Yeah.
I should have done better
research.
I
mean, he's going to be very busy for the rest of his life.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Love it. What is your favorite performance memory?
I guess.
Did you sing to your wife as your son was coming out, or that was just a highlight?
No, I sang a little bit to him when we were in the recovery room for the few days, after the birth. And we had music going throughout the entire labor process and during the C-section, which we ended up having to do. And I was busy trying to find I was like, I wonder what song we'll play during the actual, what song we'll be playing during the actual delivery. And then when we were doing the C-section, I was like, well, now I have to choose a song. Yeah. I was going to let it kind of happen on the vibe. And I go into the room and I'm thinking I've got time before it all happens. And I'm looking on my phone, and I got my Jambox portable speaker and I'm going through it. And I had been listening to a band called Punch Brothers, was the most recent thing that was on, and then all of a sudden the baby's being brought over the sheet, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so there just so happens to be a Chris Thiele and a Brad Meldau song playing from their album they did. That was what was playing, but it wasn't really by choice. It was just kind of by
it was just there.
Yeah,
things happen fast in that.
So that that's a cool memory. But from a performance standpoint, from actually playing, probably for the kids' music stuff, 2 events come to mind. One was a performance at the Beat Kitchen in Roscoe Village here in Chicago. They would do family concerts every Sunday at noon. They've been doing that for years. Hopefully they make it to the other side of this pandemic. I know they've been hurting because that was a great community. And one of the first times I ever played there was it's just so much fun because it was just packed, and it's a small, intimate, room. So, if there's 200 people in there, it's it feels like you're playing some huge arena, but you're not, because it's it's small, and just to see all the kids looking up at you with the big wide eyes, and you're under the lights.
So cool.
It's a lot of fun. And I also had a moment at a library performance when I was performing at a library where all of a sudden, when everyone's jumping up and down together, it's all the moments where people come together, where everyone's kind of in the present, living the moment, and there's joy, and it's, just palpable through the room, like that. There's been a few of those over the years, and those are the ones that are the best, because it's all about the community. It's all about enjoying things together. And when that happens, it's special, and you got to stop and be like, this is awesome. And
yeah. Take it in.
And then for the adult band, we played at the House of Blues, opening up for, oh man, now I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember the name of the band. But we opened up for this band that was popular in the 90s that was doing a New Year's Eve concert at the House of Blues in Chicago.
Wow.
Usually my band plays a lot of cover music, my adult band, Fletcher Rockwell. And we ended up all of our original music to an attentive room. Clearly they were waiting for the and they were there to see, but they were paying attention. And that was pretty cool too, because that's cool. Probably the best we've ever, better than Ezra as the band. Thank you. I'm glad I did not forget. It's hard to be present and enjoy the moment. So that's something that I've been working on. And, it's especially cool when you get to do it during moments like those when a bunch of people are involved. So
there's really no greater high than when you can tell that the audience just gets it and they're completely tuned in. You just leave the stage and you're just, it truly is a high, and you're just in such a great mood. So I can definitely see why those would be your favorite moments.
I wanted to ask both of you if you guys play an instrument and if you've had a performance memory.
I don't think I have a specific one.
So Angela is the musician and Jen is the music appreciator.
I played flute from 5th grade to 9th grade, but that's about it.
I totally pegged you as like an oboe or clarinet.
Yeah.
Oh.
I went flute. Yeah. I did 1 year of marching band, and then I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. And then that was it for me. I liked it, but I got to perform like in the Memorial Day parade in New York City. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a big crowd.
Yeah. You don't really get that as much in Minnesota.
I mean, not to overshadow anything you've done, but my 9th grade marching band played in a parade in New York City. So go ahead with your memory.
I can't say that. Yeah, definitely can't say that. I did do the American Idol experience at Disney World, Jen.
That's true. You did.
Tim, I play percussion and singing. Piano.
Oh, hence you wanted to know what kind of drum set I had.
Yep.
Cool.
Dabbling in the ukulele, but I'm not very good. I have very tiny hands, like extremely small, like carnival size, like extremely petite.
So the ukulele would lend well to that. So would the mandolin.
So I could do that, I guess.
There, because it's very small frets, so the smaller the better. You would not do so well on the bass guitar. The bass have larger frets, need bigger hands. A lot of the incredible bass players have very large hands.
That's so funny you say that, because I played the electric bass for 1 year because my aunt needed a bass player for her jazz band, and I was terrible at it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That makes a ton of sense. But it wasn't the stand-up one, which would have been even harder, I'm sure.
That's even harder, for sure. Yeah. My grandfather was a bass player, so we have he's passed, but his upright bass is I held onto it for a little while, and my uncle's got it, and everyone kind of
that's cool.
holds on to it, and some of those are on my. You can see that upright bass on some of my YouTube videos, because I used to have that, but now it's with someone else who's enjoying it. My uncle Drew.
What is your favorite instrument to play? Because you're very proficient at guitar, and we know piano because performance you studied. What's your favorite?
Well, that's tough because I think it's changed over the years. So I started playing piano when I was 3. And the only reason I started so young is because I had 2 older sisters that were also doing it. And I was being dragged along to the lessons. And of course I wanted to do most everything that my older sisters were doing. When I got older, I became less interested in classical piano. I'm more interested in rock bands, so then the guitar was my favorite instrument around like 14, and then when I got into that band in high school, they needed a drummer, and so I was just like, well, I think I could, I could figure this out. And so then the drums were my favorite, then I was in college. My college band needed a bass player. Then I started to get really into the bass. Then when I was in my 20s, living in the city in Chicago, where I still live now, but when I first moved here from the suburbs where I grew up. I started to play mandolin in a bluegrass band, and then I was super into that. And I guess now I probably enjoyed the piano the most in regards to playing. Well, piano and guitar, I think, are probably my two favorite things to do when I'm playing by myself. But when I'm playing like in a band, my favorite thing to do is to play bass, because it's like, well, maybe Jen can relate. You play the flute. When you're playing the flute by yourself, it's not so fun. But if you're in a big marching band, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the same thing with the bass. If you're playing the bass, if you're playing just kind of by yourself and you're not playing along to any recordings or anything like that, it's not as enjoyable when you're playing the guitar where you can kind of sing a song, or if you're playing piano where you can play the bass line, do the melody, and do all the harmony all at once together, So I guess that's a long, complicated answer to a very simple question.
No, it makes sense, though. They mean different things to you at different times.
Totally, yeah. So right now I guess I'm really into electric guitar because my cousin, I used to have electric guitar, and I wasn't playing it much, and it was at my mom's house when I was in college. She's like, what do I want me to do with this? Because I only brought my acoustic guitar to college because I was, figure you can't have the electric guitar making too much noise in the dorm, right? So she's like, what do I want to do with this? I'm like, oh. She's like, I'm having a garage sale. You want me to sell it? And I said, only if you can get $200 for it, And she got $200 for it, and I regret that to this day. It's the only instrument I've sold. Yeah. When I was saying before, you never want to sell an instrument, so that was a good lesson.
You learned your lesson.
That's right.
But my cousin Charlie, who's the guitar player in my adult band, Fletcher Rockwell, has like upwards of 20-some guitars because he's totally obsessed. Wow. And he has lent me one of his, so I do not have to buy one, which has been great. So it's been fun incorporating that into my kids' music classes, as well as all these other instruments that would be a huge pain to bring on location, if you will. So again, the silver lining.
Yeah, it's all there for you.
Mm-hmm.
All of the effects with the electric guitar, super fun.
Yeah.
Because
the kids must love that.
You get like loop stations too, where you can kind of like play something, loop it back, and then you can add stuff, and you can kind of create.
I love when people do that and make songs out of. Oh, it's so cool to see. I would not know how to do that, but it's awesome.
It can be tricky, but I'm working on it. I'm doing a couple things with it. I would like to do more with it, but when it comes to the kids' music, a lot of that kind of goes over their head, and they only, so it's really more so about the energy that you put out there, and then the attitude and the expression that you can feel, particularly at live performances, right? Yeah. And that is what kind of they respond to the most. You could be this incredible musician, and if you're not like really being animated, and you're not engaging with them through gestures and eye contact, and it's, a lot of it's going to go over their heads. So when I do the loop station, it's usually for the adults at the end, I try to give them a little bit, it's like the Disney Pixar approach. You gotta make sure that, the kids content's there, but you gotta have the adult humor, that they bake into the movies,
Make the adults cry, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta take care of everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Tim, can you tell everyone where they can find you, and also go ahead and promote your adult band while you're at it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tuneswithtim.com is my website. The best way to stay up to date with me is to join the Tunes with Tim VIP email list, because that way we don't have to rely on the social media gods for us to be connected, and you can hear directly from me and be sure not to miss anything because of some crazy algorithm or whatnot. But if you want to find me on social media, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All of it is /Tunes with Tim. And if you want to track me for live performances, I'm on Bands in Town, which is a cool band tracking app that gives you you sign up and it gives you alerts when your favorite bands come to your town, so you don't miss a concert. FletcherRockwell.com is my adult band. It's we do cover song stuff, but some original songs as well. You can catch some of that on all the usual digital music streaming places.
And We're All Human, January 15th.
Yes. Oh, how could I forget? Yeah. So that's coming out everywhere. If, some of the perks for my VIP email list is that they're all getting, it's December 14th today, right? So December 15th, anyone who's a subscriber is going to get a free copy of the album. in advance. So,
Nice.
so some of the things that, I try to reward my Tunes with Tim VIPs, with things like that. So
That's awesome.
I'm excited to hopefully get some feedback from them, and before it goes out everywhere else, and we'll see what can happen. Some of the cool things with the virtual classes that I've been doing is that instead of just people from Chicago tuning in, I got people from all over the country, and even people in Paris. I got someone in Paris that tunes in regularly. Awesome. It just happens to work out, like, instead of it being the beginning of the day there, it's the end of the day, but but it still works for their wake windows and nap schedules and whatnot. So that's exciting. I've had people in Canada tune in. I've had people in LA tune in New York, Denver, Albuquerque, Austin. So it's cool when I say, if you're not from Chicago, let me know in the chat box where you're tuning in from. So that's how I know these things, because it just makes you feel good that you're reaching people more, for further away places. So again, silver lining.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was so interesting just kind of hearing your journey and how this all started and where you are now, especially having a baby and during the pandemic. So we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate being on and appreciate your interest, and hopefully people enjoyed what we had to say. Yeah. And I hope they enjoy what they can hear if they tune in.
That's right.
So Tunes with Tim, going international.
And again, that album comes out January 15th, We're All Human, with a live stream album release virtual concert on January 16th.
That's right. TunesWithTim.com. Come find me.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a review on iTunes if you'd like. You can find us on Twitter at Magic Mom Monday, Instagram at Magical Mommy Monday, and our email is magicalmommymondays@gmail.com. I hope you're having a great day, night, whatever you're doing, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.